Hi there. I've made a breakthrough in my pool shot making, and I want to share it with you. As you probably know, I have a company, Aim Pro Billiards, and I've been promoting some of my products. They're products that I developed basically so that I could learn to shoot better. I've been playing all my life, starting when I was about 14 years old. I've taken breaks here and there, but I've played pretty continuously now since 1993. And a major goal of mine has been to be able to, what I call, shoot straight, be able to hit what I'm aiming at, and of course, to be able to make shots. I developed the Aim Right training aid as something that I thought would really help me, and of course, help you. So I commercialized it to make it available to you. I've also created Angles Challenge 101 pool training game to help estimate angles. But time after time, the problem comes back that I can't shoot accurately enough. My stroke isn't good enough. What can I do to make it better? Let me tell you that over the years, I've bought more books than you can shake a stick at and read them and studied them, tried practicing many of their drills. I've taken instruction from the local pool hall pro to uh, organized classes, 3-day class on site, 1-day class of instructor comes to do training to me personally. I've had pool professionals give me one-on-one training. Now, let me also tell you about other ways to try and train myself. I have almost every form of aim trainer that you could hope for: mechanical devices, laser devices, fabric devices, straps, uh, the little tubes to go groove your stroke. I imported one from Australia. I've tried all those things. Uh, Maybe I didn't know the right way to use them. I tried to follow the instructions people gave me, but in the end, I still found myself with my game hampered by an inaccurate stroke. That's all just changed nearly overnight. My stroke and my shot accuracy has just increased beyond measure. And it's all happened in less than 7 days. That's right, 7 days. Now, I'm inclined to give the word revolutionary to apply to this, but yet when I tell you about it, you'll see that this is just a simple reuse of methods you've already heard about, or a logical way to use them, a progression with them, a way to put them together in a way that maybe no one's done before. Certainly nobody's presented it to me before. I want to sketch out for you what it is, but first I'd like to tell you how it came about. Its origin was with my recent video series where I was talking about shooting pool again and learning how to shoot pool again. It's both about shot making and aiming. And I had a drill that I did, a multi-angle spot shot drill that I did. And in that drill, I didn't shoot as well as I wanted to, as normal. And what happened was that I said that you and I should experiment with finding a better way to get better at the stroke and all mechanics, as well as how to aim better for more consistent pocketing on thin cuts. So I started thinking about how to go about doing that. What other kind of drill would I want to set up? And the first thing I realized is that you can't make a long, thin cut and figure out how to aim it if you don't actually have the mechanical accuracy to be able to implement the stroke. The experiments in aiming will get lost in the confusion of just poor stroke and missing because you can't hit where you're aiming. So I came up with a drill to do that, and I'm going to call it, at least for now, the straight cut drill, or the aim right straight cut drill. So I started practicing on that drill about less than a week ago, and I immediately realized that I have the same problem that I've had on any of my other drills, which is that there are too many interacting things of stroke mechanics, stance, grip, elbow position, arm movement, dropping the elbow or not, etc., that I couldn't sort out how all of those variables should be adjusted properly to make progress. So I backed up a step. I went back to the drills that I've been recommending in my recent video series, the dry practice drill and the cue ball up and down drill. So I went to the dry practice drill, and I approached it in a different way. So let me tell you. So the first thing, this straight cut drill, that's what will now be part 2 of a 3-part approach. Part 1 now is going back to the dry practice. And what I'm doing in the dry practice is I'm trying to isolate one component at a time. So to the best I can, without spending too much time at it, what's the proper grip? What's the proper wrist position? What seems to be the correct elbow position? What's the right body stance? But instead of doing it as an amalgam, the way I approached it was one at a time. So let me do wrist motion and nothing else, and look to see how I can change my grip and wrist motion so that it's straighter. Now, people talk about doing it on the rail, but what I did was I got my laser training tool. I have a tool to put on my cue stick that shows me where I'm aiming. And I did that drill aimed across a pool table at a ball that was not too far away, and watched how the laser line or dot moved as I tried my grip, wrist, elbow movement, elbow position, full stroke, one at a time. And I just looked for where was the most obvious glaring cause of error, and try and make an improvement one at a time in all of those. Then I went back to the straight cut drill and immediately had much better results. And step 3 that I haven't actually gotten to yet is to then shoot one of those straight cut drills. Now, let me explain. The straight cut drill is a drill that's like the cue ball up and back, or the cue ball across the table and back to your Q-tip drill. It's just the same concept of that you're trying to hit center ball and hit straight and hit accurately. But I don't know about you, but I find that drill pretty boring and get tired of doing it quickly. I'm a pool player. I like pocketing balls. So I found a way to adapt that drill so that conceptually you're doing the same thing, just trying to shoot straight up and that back or across and back. But we put a ball in the way that you're actually trying to make into a pocket, just as a happenstance of shooting straight. And believe me, that changes everything, and it makes it very more revealing, very more interesting and entertaining and revealing. And I've learned a tremendous amount from the combination of doing the dry practice one element at a time, and then bringing that to the straight cut drill. Then following that, once at some given cut angle, let's say, for example, 30-degree cut. After being successful at that, then one can then move on to aiming. And in my approach, you can use any aiming method you want. If you want to use ghost ball aiming, contact point aiming, double the distance aiming, if you want to use an offset and pivot method like CTE, it doesn't matter. What you can now do is take a particular defined setup shot that you know you can make when you're using this straight cut practice. You know you can make it. Now let's see if you can make it when you use your aiming method. It's just a matter of changing your vision and your mind of how you're approaching the shot. And then you can go refine your aim. So in a nutshell, that is what the new technique is. So the three-phase program I call the FIT method. FIT is for fast improvement training. So fast improvement training method, the FIT method for shot making. So how do we use the FIT method? Well, that's a great question. And I think we'll be exploring the answers, many answers to that into the future. The answer will depend on who you are. Are you teaching or are you learning? Teaching yourself. What are your goals? Are you an experienced player who wants to eke out some extra accuracy like me? Are you a beginner and just trying to figure out how to shoot any kind of shot and fight the wobble? You're an experienced player trying to learn to play left-handed and want to train your left hand and the arm. Well, I thought my problem was my aiming, and so I wanted to get to step 3 of this process. But I was mistaken. My problem is my accuracy, my stroke. So I've really had to stay working on it. And whether I also have an aiming problem remains to be seen. So even just going sideways across the table, I have a seven steps of increasing difficulty. And then it'd get more difficult if I turn sideways and go down the length of the table to increase distances even more. But going across the table can start with a really easy shot close to the pocket and then work your way up to far from the pocket and thin and very difficult. So that's one use. But I will progress past that and start on part 3 at some point and work on refining my aiming method. If you're more towards a beginner, you may just be wanting to, and don't really have a solid aiming method, getting up to working on part 3 on a shot within your capabilities, that might be your cup of tea. I say it's a progressive drill, and I've been using it as a progressive drill for accuracy training, but I've been doing it by shooting sideways across the table, across the width of it, and increasing the length of the distance from the object ball to the pocket. But I can turn 90 degrees and start working on the issues of accuracy. And I think it really involves my vision and sighting and use of my eyes to increase the distance between the cue ball and the object ball. And I think that's a different kind of progressive training that I'll do in the future. Again, it depends on what you need. Part 2 of the FIT method can be used as a challenge or a game among people. See who can do the best. Now, in an ideal world, I would turn this into a worldwide business and train the world, train instructors to train you directly. But you can see that I'm not a spring chicken anymore, and I'm not ready to upend my life to take on such a thing. So, what are, how am I going to get it to you? I actually don't know the answer to that. There are problems, not just me and my inability to go deliver this to you worldwide, but there are equipment issues. If I use all the tools, if I ask you to get all the tools, um, the lasers, the laser trainers, the aim right, you'll spend over $100 doing that. And if I were to put together a package to send it to you, it'd probably be about $200. Um, there's a setup. You have to learn how to do the setup, and that's not trivial. It's not very hard, but not trivial. You need to be able to have a location where you can do this, where you can go put an aim right on the table, where you can put little donuts stuck on the table at various places to set up drills. That's probably not too hard. Maybe a little more difficult is with the lasers I'm using, they're not quite bright enough to do this setup unless I dim the lights in the room. If you go to your local pool hall, it may be dim enough, or you might buy a powerful enough laser, but you may have trouble with being able to see the lines well enough to do an accurate setup. Next, you might need some guidance about how to actually do what I'm describing. It's not trivial. If you have 50 years of experience or more, like I do, and a broad pool education, you might be able to adapt to this quickly. If you're a beginner or not all that conversant with it, and you don't know what you're going for on a good stroke, you know what you're tuning for, you probably need guidance. So I think you probably need a local instructor to go help you out. Well, I don't have any local instructor in your area trained in how to do the fifth method of shot making. I guess we could argue that I could give local practices, but I don't know that the place that I'm at that does have a clubhouse with pool tables, I don't know if they're willing to let me do commercial stuff of bringing in people to play. And in any case, I'm in a small town in Oregon right now that isn't convenient to hardly anybody who's a serious pool player. And I'm while I travel around Western United States and might come to your area, I'm not in that many major metropolitan areas mostly. So I don't know that my visiting you is going to work either. I mean, it's theoretically possible, but I'm not sure we'll pull that one off. So what are some possible solutions? Well, I can make a product package up that either is all the equipment and stuff and sell it to you for, say, $200 and ship it out to you. Or I could make up a smaller package where you get some of your own lasers in order to do this. Maybe less expensive, certainly not with a markup through me, and less expensive. Maybe you'll pick a less expensive option than I would send you. Maybe you could convince your local BCA approved pool instructor that this really is worthwhile and get him to come to me, get him and I together somehow for him to have the training and deliver it to you. Maybe I could set up something where you get the equipment and we do Skype or what's the other one? Video sessions in any case. Zoom, I guess, is the latest. Do Zoom training sessions where I try and give you that. I don't know. Um, I'd like, sorry for bumping the table. I'd like to hear from you and see if you have an idea of what I can do, or um, if you have idea, either to help you directly or how to help everyone more, more generally. Okay, what's next? First, I have a recommendation for you. Don't spend money on some conventional old pool practice training from an instructor who's going to teach you the same old stuff of here's how I'm going to video you and show you why you're not doing the um, the proper stroke motion where we'll wag our fingers at you and say, no, 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 okay, do it better. I've gone through those. In the end, it didn't work. Not like this. I really want you to hear me. This has been revolutionary. I'm shooting better now than I have my entire life, and it's been less than 7 days of practice in order to do this. And every practice session, I'm getting better. Now, of course, it's up and down. When I start a new practice session, my first strokes, I'm reverting back to old ways and I'm missing the shots, not doing it very well. I have to reteach myself. Breaking habits is just as hard now as it was any other time. But I have some suggestions on how to overcome that, and I've been able to overcome it. And I should be releasing a video very soon that shows you my doing this part 2 of the 3-part series, doing uh, the straight cut drill, and give you an idea of what it's like. And you can see what my stroke looks like, and you can see if you think that I've made incredible results, incredible improvement like I'm alleging. So stay tuned for that and let me know what you think I should do or what we should do as a community going forward to spread the word. Okay, have a good day.